Hi and welcome to the gwEm. I'm gwEm. So last week I did a jam using the Korg SQ-64, the Roland TR-909, the Kawai K1, the Roland SH-101 and the Moog Werkstatt. So here is a breakdown of how all that worked on a technical level. Let's get into it. A lot going on in this one, so I've decided to fit the fisheye lens so that you can see everything. Sorry about the weird perspective. Everything in the jam is being sequenced by the SQ-64 from Korg, and I'm actually running the upgraded firmware that Korg just released. There's some really nice improvements in the new firmware, but there's also, it's not without its problems, but I think I'll make a separate video about that. Maybe just a very short one. Track A to start with, which is the Kawai K1, which is a digital synth that I featured properly a few weeks ago. This is running a string sound. Which sounds very nice. It's got some reverb applied to it from the good old Zoom RFX 300, which I feature on pretty much all of my jams, or 80% of them anyway. I'll take off the reverb and you can hear that. Definitely better with it on. Track B is the SH-101, which is sequenced via CV gate. As you can see, it's being sequenced by CV gate using the cool abilities to do not only MIDI that I use for the K1, but also CV gate that I used for the SH-101 and the next thing on the list, which is this Moog Werkstatt. A few weeks ago I did a feature where I compared different acid synths, and I wanted to show that Moog synths actually do like really nice sounding acid. So I thought in order to kind of demonstrate that even further, I would use the Moog Werkstatt in this jam to do the acid line. So here is that. As you can hear, that has quite a lot of reverb from the RFX 300. Let me take it off and you can hear it without. So the filter sweep is being done using the mod channel. That is this blue wire, and it's coming out of the mod output of the SQ-64 and it's going into the filter CV in. This orangey cable here is the pitch, and it's going into the VCO exponential FM in. And then this red wire, which is the gate, is going through a splitter, so it's being sent into the gate in order to trigger the envelope, but it's also going into the VCA CV in, so that the internal envelope of the Moog Werkstatt is not applied to the VCA, it's just an on and off VCA. I'll disconnect that patch and you can hear the difference. Because otherwise you have the same envelope on the filter as you do the volume, and it's not quite as punchy for this type of sound. I think you'll agree that sounds really acid. I think it would be cool if a manufacturer came up with another little standalone CV gate synth. The Werkstatt works really well with the SQ-64, and I realize that, you know, the CV gate side of it is intended to use with Eurorack. But I think like a little CV gate synth would be a cool thing to go with the Moog Werkstatt. Finally, the drum track. So the drum sounds are all coming from the good old Roland TR-909. Originally, I did actually sequence all of the drums in the 909, but in order to have more control over the drums, I translated my drum program from the 909 into the SQ-64 so that I could do the mute and unmutes of the different drum sounds as the track was playing. The MIDI comes out of the SQ-64 into the K1, into this MIDI lead, which comes out the MIDI through and into the TR-909. And the TR-909 is just acting like a glorified sound module at this point in this jam. Let me play you the drum track. So I've split the output of the TR-909. The kick drum is going into its own channel and all the other instruments are going into their own stereo channel. So the kick drum is completely dry and it has had no EQ or effects added. All the other instruments, they do have reverb from the RFX 300, and I've cut the low end out of those instruments so that it interferes a bit less with the other instruments in the track. Not that it was particularly interfering very much, but I thought it would be a good idea to do that. Let's listen to the drums without the reverb. I do like a good spacey reverb. And then the entire mix is then going through the good old Alesis Nanocompressor, which is down here. It's set to a pretty subtle setting this time, I think. What I will do is have the compressor on and off and show you the difference that it makes, and that will wrap up this breakdown. Well, I hope you found that interesting. If you like this type of content, stay tuned. Give me a like and subscribe if you fancy it. Thanks a lot. See you soon and take care.